David once believed that kindness meant acting immediately. If something looked wrong, you fixed it. If someone needed help, you jumped in. No hesitation, no thinking, just action. He was only 9 years old, but people in his small Ohio town already knew him. They would smile and say, "That kid has a good heart," and David loved hearing that. It made him feel like he mattered, like he was a little hero in a quiet world. He lived in a small blue house with peeling paint and a creaky swing on the porch. In front of the house stood a giant oak tree. It was his favorite place. He would lie under it and watch the clouds drift slowly through the branches. But David wasn't like other kids. If he saw a stray cat shivering in the rain, he would bring it inside. If a classmate was bullied, he would stand beside them. If a homeless man asked for money, David would give everything he had. He felt responsible for fixing everything. 3 streets away lived an old man named Harold. He had a bad temper and worse legs. In his backyard lived a bulldog named Brutus, strong, muscular, and dangerous. After knocking down a delivery worker once, Brutus had been chained tightly to a metal stake in the yard. Every day on his way to school, David saw that dog, pacing, whining, staring into the distance. And every time, David felt the same thing, tightness in his chest. This isn't fair, he thought. He should be free. One Saturday afternoon, Harold left for town. The street was quiet. David stopped his bike. His heart began to race. He looked around. No one was watching. Before he could think it through, he climbed the fence, step by step. He walked toward the iron stake. His hands trembled as he unclipped the chain. The moment it came, loose, Brutus exploded forward. The dog ran like lightning. Within seconds, chaos erupted. A woman pushing a stroller screamed as Brutus slammed into her. She fell hard. The stroller tipped over. A baby began crying. 2 children were knocked off their tricycles. People shouted. Someone grabbed a stick. Someone called the police. The peaceful street turned into panic. Eventually, animal control arrived and captured the dog. David stood frozen. He didn't feel like a hero anymore. By evening, the entire town knew. Neighbors came to his house, angry and shouting, "Do you know what you've done? That woman broke her wrist. You put everyone in danger." David couldn't speak. His lips turned pale. His father stood behind him quietly, one hand on his shoulder. He didn't defend him. He didn't argue with the neighbors. He just stood there. That night, David cried into his pillow. After a long silence, his father sat outside the door and said softly, "David, courage without direction becomes recklessness." David didn't reply, but he heard every word. The next day, something changed. David stopped helping people when someone fell. He looked away. When someone asked for help, he walked faster. When he passed Harold's house, he didn't even look. A voice inside him whispered, "If you do nothing, you can't do anything wrong." It felt safe, but also empty. Weeks passed. Summer grew hotter. Then came the town picnic. Families gathered at the park. There was music, laughter, and children playing near the lake. David sat alone under a tree, watching. At 3 in the afternoon, a scream shattered the air. A little girl had slipped into the lake. She couldn't swim. Her arms flailed wildly as she sank and rose again, choking. People froze. Someone shouted, "Help her!" But no one moved. The water was deep. The bottom was muddy. Fear held everyone still. David stood up. His heart pounded. This was a moment. But his feet wouldn't move. Memories flooded back. The dog, the screams, the anger. What if I make it worse again? He took a step back. Then, suddenly, his father's voice echoed in his mind. Courage without direction becomes recklessness. David took a deep breath. He didn't jump into the water. Instead, he turned and ran. "Give me that cooler and a rope," he shouted. His voice was sharp and clear. People hesitated but then reacted. A man threw him a large empty cooler. Another handed him a rope. David tied the rope tightly around the cooler and ran back to the lake. He swung it with all his strength. "Grab it," he yelled. The girl reached out, barely holding onto the edge. "Pull," David shouted. People joined together. Slowly, inch by inch, they dragged her back to shore. When she reached land, she was coughing, crying but alive. The crowd fell silent. Then applause erupted. "You saved her. That was smart. You did it right." A firefighter knelt beside David and said, "That's real courage. You thought first. Then you acted." David stood there, shaking, but this time he wasn't ashamed. That evening, his family sat under the oak tree. They ate quietly. The air was calm, peaceful. After a while, David said softly, "I thought I should never help anyone again." His father looked at him and smiled gently. "Helping is good," he said, "but thinking makes it right." David nodded. He thought about Brutus. He thought about the chaos. He thought about the lake and the girl who lived, and finally he understood. Kindness isn't about rushing. It's about choosing the right way to help. From that day on, David still helped people, but now he paused. He observed, he thought, and when he acted he made a difference. Sometimes he would sit under the oak tree, doing nothing but watching the clouds, because he knew something now. True kindness isn't fast, it's wise.